forever ago, I redesigned one of my first ever comic characters, Elias, and I promised I would maybe draw more redraws of Sovereign characters, because they were some of my first comic character designs, and they have a lot of problems, so it's really fun to redesign them. So here I am again with Raele. If you'd like to go back and watch the first one with my character Elias, there's a card here somewhere you can click and you can go watch it. Heck yeah. But diving into Raele's redesign, as usual, I start with writing out the personality of the character, because everything about their appearance stems from that. Raele is the self-proclaimed pirate queen. She is the captain of a ship, she has a crew, and in the story of Sovereign, she kidnaps Elias, who is basically royalty, and it turns out she wasn't kidnapping him for ransom, she's actually saving him from assassins. So, yes, that is Raele. She is very loud, and she is like punch first, ask questions later. Actually, she likes to drop kick people, but she is very energetic. She does not plan things out. She is very strong and confident and flirty. She's also a bit of a misogynist. She has an all-male crew. She's very insecure around other women, and it is definitely because she had a very problematic father who was a womanizer and stuff, and she idolized her father and wanted to be a cool captain like him. In this redesign, I wanted to make her a lot more masculine. Because don't get me wrong, like, Raele's got her feminine charms, but considering she idolizes her father so much, and she surrounds herself with, like, all these guys, I figure that she probably would have a bit more of a masculine design than what I gave her. Or at least I wanted to balance, like, the femininity and the masculinity a bit. Honestly, when I first designed Raele, I remember struggling so hard because I wanted her to look like a pirate. I remember struggling with her colors a lot. I remember struggling with her costume, and eventually what I landed on, like, I really don't like. I'm okay with her coat. I like the idea of having this, like, billowy, bright red coat, but I do not enjoy the rest of her outfit. It's very plain and does not really suit her personality very much. I don't like it. But I do like her red coat, and I like the idea of her hair. Like, I like the flowiness of it. I don't necessarily like her hairstyle per se, but I like the flowiness and the waviness of it. Because it says a lot about her character and how full of movement she is. She's definitely a character who's always, like, gesturing and running off and stuff. So, drawing her body type, that is also, again, where I start. You want to start with, like, some general shapes and extrapolate on that, I guess. So I wanted her to be very muscular. In her original design, I had her very, like, skinny. That was my default back then. I wasn't very good at drawing, like, muscled characters. A lot of them were kind of, like, rake thin. Whereas Raele, I think she's, like, a little bit more curvy. And she's got strong arms and strong legs. Because, man, she loves to kick people. So, it's always leg day for Raele. So I wanted to give her some very powerful legs. A bit more of a triangular form. She's got a very, like, hourglass figure. In her initial design. I wanted to make it a little more top-heavy, I guess. Like, more triangular, if that makes sense. Though she does have, like, big muscular hips. So yeah, I tried a few variations out. I tried one that is a lot more soft, which I didn't really like. I tried one that's a bit more very muscular and wide. And I didn't really like that because I still wanted her to have that, like, feminine silhouette. Hold on. Fade out. Fado's always tearing up papers when I'm trying to record. But I found making her more muscular took away from it got a little too far away from, like, her curvy self. So I wanted to tone it down a bit, and I think I found a good middle where she still looks very muscular and cut, but she still has, like, some soft curves to her. So yeah, a lot of her shapes are very triangular mixed with curvy boxiness, I guess. I guess that's the best way I'd describe it. For her face, she's an interesting character because she's kind of villainous. Like, not villainous, but she's she's like an adventurer. So I ended up making her face very triangular to match kind of the shape of her torso and her silhouette. I tried a few kind of curvy faces to see if I could make her, like, I guess her face match the curve of her hips, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like cunning and adventurous. So I wouldn't necessarily call Raele cunning, but she's got that kind of like swashbuckler feel, which I associate with like sharp edges. So I decided on that for her face. I gave her eyes a bit more roundness to keep, again, that very like flirty feel to them, because she's a total sweetie, so she needs those like soft curves. And they definitely makes a nice little contrast between, say, her jaw shape and her eye shape. And she still gets to look like a badass lady. Yeah. Her hair I found a lot easier to design because, like I said, I really like the waviness of her original hairstyle. Like I said, it really fits her because she's always moving. It's very flowy. It's very pretty, and it just suits her. It's a little wild. So I started out with very like wild curvy hair, even like pushing her original hairstyle farther, though I was toying with the idea of like cutting it down really short, because I was like, she's like a pirate. She probably wants her hair short if she's fighting someone, they can't just grab it. But at the same time, Raele's kind of vain, and she knows she's hot stuff, so she might keep her hair long. In the end, I did go with a longer hairstyle, but I kept that waviness, and like I said, I pushed it farther than it was originally, and I thought she would probably keep it in a braid, because like that keeps it out of your face, but it still makes her hair look long and beautiful. I also associate braids with like toughness. I don't know. I can think of so many characters that keep their hair in braids because they're like tough ladies. Ooh. That's a weird bias to find in my heart. Anyways. So yeah, again, I wanted to keep her hair very beautiful, but then make it a little more rugged than it was originally. And I toyed with different braid ideas because I find like usually the first design I ever do of anything, whether it's like figuring out body type or face shape or hairstyle or clothing, any of it, the first idea is usually like not the best. I have to get out all my bad ideas before I find a good idea. So if I put one down, and even if I really like it, it's like, well, I'm going to try some other directions just in case I think of something better. So I think like some of my early ideas with her hair really stood out to me. But it's always good to test out if another direction works better instead of just picking the first one that appeals to me. It really helps knowing about Raele's personality. I don't know, I had so much trouble the first time I ever designed her. Part of it was, so Sovereign, if you've never heard me talk about it, Sovereign came from an RP between me, Bones, and a friend of ours in high school. And so our friend, she was the one who created Raele and Basil. And so when I was designing Raele, it wasn't my character, and it was just difficult to really get into that, I guess, into a character that wasn't altogether mine. Eventually, Raele really came into her own, and I understood her as a character a lot better towards the end of the story. I also didn't know much about character design. I had very, distinct ideas for what I wanted the mages to look like, but not very much for the Sky Pirates, despite the fact that the Sky Pirates are, a huge element of Sovereign. But yeah, it definitely helps knowing a lot about Raele's backstory. So she is from the Dark Kingdom. Sorry, that's a lie. She is from the Southern Wind Kingdom. Because her father's a pirate, and that's where most of the Sky Pirates hang out, because you can get a lot of, wind god artifacts, which are what make the ships fly. So her father, the king of the Sky Pirates, he's from the Wind Kingdom, but he has ties in the Dark Kingdom. He was a friend of the Dark Kingdom's royal family. He did a lot of work for them. So she grew up kind of with pirates. I think her mom died, so her dad ended up having to take care of her, even though he was a womanizer and he probably wouldn't have taken care of her otherwise, which is really rude and terrible. But he loved her. But eventually he realized the life of a pirate is not very safe for a child. So I'm going to drop you off with a family in the Dark Kingdom where you'll be safe. And that's how she meets Basil. And she's kind of raised by Basil and his family. And eventually she convinces Basil to run off and become a pirate with her. I think it really helped knowing more about the world and where she came from, because going into it, I didn't really know much about her backstory. So knowing that she has ties in the Wind Kingdom and ties in the Dark Kingdom, she's running around with pirates, doing crazy pirate stuff, and then she's hanging out with Basil's family, who is very, froofy and all manners and no nonsense. Yeah, so it's just a mixture of those two worlds that makes Raele, though she's definitely more in the direction of, the Wind Kingdom and her rugged pirate roots. But she's got that lovely loveliness that I guess came from Basil's family. I also wanted to make sure to make her costume a lot more detailed than it was in the original version. I think that's a big problem I have with a lot of the pirates in Sovereign, is that their designs are very simple. Because, the mages, I found they looked pretty unique because they had these, weird robes that didn't really make sense, but at least they were visually striking, and they had the tattoos, which were visually striking, though, impossible to draw. But the pirates felt very uninspired. They really, to me, felt if you think of, I don't know, a kid's costume for pirates, it was like that, where going into this, I was I want to make sure that her costume really feels like Raele, and it feels like it belongs to a fantasy world. So yeah, I was very excited to give her a cool outfit. And I wanted to make sure it was very decorated and kind of ornate. Maybe not ornate, but show-offy. Because that's her personality. She's I'm the queen of the pirates. I'm so cool. I'm so beautiful. I have all the boys. So I wanted her to kind of strut like a peacock and be man, I'm so cool. And really have the outfit to show that part of her personality, because that's where it comes out quite a bit. So again, now that I understand her, her body shape and her hairstyle and her expressions. Well, I know her expressions because I drew a comic of her for a long time, but if I was working on, say, other characters, I would probably do a big sheet of, expressions and show how she expresses herself with her body language and her facial expressions. But since I know her so well, I was I'm just gonna jump in and start working on the costumes. So yeah, I did struggle a little bit with making her body type work, still getting used to, this is what her hips look like, and this is her silhouette and stuff. But I like how it turned out overall. She looks very, muscular and cool. She looks like a roguish pirate, and I'm really happy with it. Her shape is definitely a lot more defined than in the original Sovereign, which I'm so happy for. So much of Sovereign is just, my default body type. Everyone looked the same. Honestly, that was a criticism I got very early on when making Sovereign, and at the time I was no, they have different body types. They do not. If they do, it's way too subtle. So, I'm very happy with the definition I was able to put into this. It definitely took a long time to figure out her costume as well. Again, Raele's got the toughest costumes to draw. She's just too cool for me. But yeah, I made sure to keep her, her wild hair, and it really helped to have, such defined shapes for, her torso and her hips and her arms and stuff. Because it really informed her costume. Because her costume's gonna, adhere to the shapes that her body is made of. Just from a character design standpoint, you want, there to be through lines, consistent visual things, so it's very, curves and sharp edges and stuff, and very triangular, but also curvy bits. So I definitely wanted to give her really tall boots. They just scream pirate to me. I don't know what it is. They scream adventurer and pirate. They also, I find they make her legs look strong, which again I really wanted to highlight because she does a lot of kicking and a lot of fighting with her legs. So I wanted them to be very powerful and prominent. Yeah, like I said, the wild, curvy hair that's got lots of movement to it. I made her look kind of villainous, I found, working on this design. She's very, she looks tough. A lot tougher than in the original. In the original, she seemed a lot more, a lot softer. And in here, she's a lot more haha, I am a pirate queen. I do crimes, sky crimes. She is on the good side, because she is, she saves people and stuff. But she's also a pirate, and pirates are, ambiguous morally? I don't know. She's still a cool roguish type. And again, I wanted to give her, a big red coat. In this case, it's more of a cloak that has like lots of kind of pleats to it as it hangs off of her. I kept it kind of like sharp and boxy to really contrast with her curvy hips and such. And for a while I was like playing around with giving her a hat, as well as a big collar. I really like the idea of like a big collar. It's one of the things I did like about her original coat design, because it's very like, it's such a show-offy thing to have this giant like collar to your coat or your cloak. So why would a cloak have a big open collar? Anyways, I guess you could wrap it around yourself to keep warm in the wind. Anyways, so I wanted to give her a big collar, and I made her a cloak. I wanted to show off her shoulders. I don't know what it is, but she's got kind of like a halter toppy thing, and then bare shoulders. I just find that look, it really highlights the shoulders and makes them seem really powerful. So yeah, that's why I like it. I was debating with giving her gloves, or like elbow length gloves, or maybe some short gloves, but in the end I got rid of them because I found it just very distracting, because her coat takes so much attention. Not her coat, sorry, her cloak. It takes so much attention that I really wanted it to all go there. I did get rid of the hat, because it didn't feel like her. It felt a little too frivolous, so I just made the collar larger. I was like really nervous about it at first because I was like, this looks ridiculous, but then I was like, wait, it is perfect. And it really balances out her design because it's very bottom heavy, but as soon as you add that collar in, it's way better. I also designed her like evening dress for when she meets Elias, when she like sneaks into his party before he's going to be crowned, which I think can honestly follow suit with the original, just like a red dress, though I gave it like a halter top. Again, makes her seem a lot more powerful. There's just something about that cut, man, that just looks powerful to me. Don't know what it is. And I made the dress nice and square and boxy, similar to her cloak. Heck yeah. And I kept her boots, because she needs her kickin' boots. So in her original design for her colors, she went way too, like, ketchup and mustard color, because she has this, like, blonde hair. I remember when I was first designing her, I toyed around with, like, giving her red hair and giving her blonde hair. In the end, I went with blonde. I was also looking at doing, like, a fade thing, where it went from, like, red to yellow. But again, it just felt way too, like ketchup and mustardy, so I think I just went with yellow. Then I made sure to give her her bright red coat, because that is like the one thing I wanted to keep. So yeah, I think I definitely regret giving her the blonde hair. I maybe should have gone with a red. Maybe I was too afraid of having too much red. But in the end here, I gave her like a very kind of like pale pinky colored hair, which kind of makes sense for her origin, because in the Wind Kingdom, it's very common for the people there to have kind of like white pastel-y hair. Not white, but like pale purples and pale pinks and stuff. I was like, okay, I will do this peachy pink color. I toyed around with keeping it dark for a while, but I found when her cloak is like a dark red, and the rest of her outfit is pretty dark, it's just too much dark, and I wanted to kind of cut it with a nice light color. And for a little bit I was toying around with making her very blue to match Elias's color palette from the original redraw I did, but it doesn't really suit her, because she's not all blue like he is. He's very blue because it suits him as a dark mage, where she's like, you know, she's passionate and she's fierce and fiery, so like the red really suits her. It suits her personality quite a bit. And then once I had her cloak as red again, don't know why I went away from that. Red cloak, it's my fave. So once I finally gave into that, the colors really started coming together. And I had a nice contrast between like her dark halter top thing, her light pants, dark boots. It just makes sense. There's lots of good contrast in her colors here, I find. And then you get the little hint of blue to match Elias in her eyes and in her little armband thingy. I think it's like a bandage or something. I'm not quite sure. I just needed something on that arm to like tie everything together. It also matches like with her belt and like the rectangles at the top of her boots. That's the thing with character design. There's so much like echo throughout the whole thing. It all has to look cohesive. But yeah, as I added her costume on, her curves kind of went away, I noticed. Like, everything got a lot sharper. She still got, like, very round hips, and, like, the muscles on her arms are very round. But, like, her hair is very, like, cut and sharp, and, like, her cloak is very sharp, and the bottom of her shirt is sharp. Her sword, her boots, like, it's all very rectangular with, like, points on it. And I really like how it turned out. And again, keeping that red on her when she's in her evening dress. I am in love with Raele with pinkish hair. I just love characters with pink hair. Pink is like my fave color. I am down for this. Wish I knew how to design characters back when I made Sovereign. So yeah, that is the Pirate Queen Raele. She's a cutie. She's gonna save the world. She's gonna smooch Basil Boo. Yeah, there we go. I did it. I redesigned Raele. Maybe I'll do more in the future. I really like doing these redesigns. They're really fun. Maybe one day I'll have the whole Sovereign cast redone. But yeah, I hope this was fun to watch. They were fun to work on. And it's so weird redrawing characters with like all the hindsight that you have after finishing a comic. Because like sometimes when you're designing a character up front, you're like, I don't really know where this character is going. And it makes it so hard to design and you feel like you're making really arbitrary decisions. Whereas when you know everything about them, it's like you can have really decisive, impactful decisions that like the way they dress really reflects their character, or their colors really reflect their character. Or you can make all the colors match within the group and stuff. So yeah, man, knowing a lot more about Raele, it's a lot easier to design for her. Yeah, if you're ever having trouble with a character design, maybe start fleshing out your character a bit more. Think about their personality, where they've come from, who they hang out with, all that stuff, because it all factors into how they look. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, if you are interested, Bones and I are still doing the Moonlight Anthology, which is a queer werewolf comic and fiction anthology. So the deadline is at the end of November, so get your submissions in if you're interested. There's a link in the description down below. Leave a comment, subscribe, boop that little like button, I guess. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Did I do a good job? Does Raele look cute? I think she looks cute. You can't tell me otherwise. Goodbye!